So when I put on Halloween 5 today, I honestly didn't think I was going to have to write down a whole ton because I didn't think I had a lot to say about this movie. But yeah, this one's actually going to take a little while, so strap on in. Is it blasphemous to have a Jason Voorhees cup here? This is just water. It's not coffee. That joke made it look like this is coffee. All right, so I'm about 50-50 on this movie. There's things in this movie that I love and I think are great, and there's things in this movie that I think are ridiculously stupid. So let's get into it. Now, first thing I want to talk about is Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. More like on. What does Michael Myers have to get revenge for? Come on now. Is that too nitpicky for you? Look at this shirt. I don't ever wear this shirt, but it's pretty cool, right? I don't know. I just never thought that this looked all that awesome on me personally when like walking around, but it's a cool shirt. What do you guys think? All right, so I was never a big fan of this pumpkin opening with like the sound effects because I don't like the sound effects in this movie. It's one of my biggest gripes with this film is the inserted sound effects, and I'll get to my biggest one that I absolutely despise, and I'm sure you're already well aware of it because I've mentioned it in like 30 reviews now. It's so dumb. But I didn't hate the pumpkin opening as much this time, where it's like stabbing the guts and whatnot. It's actually okay. It's actually not bad this time. I'm going into these things with a little bit more open of mind when I do these spoiler discussions like I do. These aren't reviews. This is just me breaking down scenes in films that we have all seen 100 times, and we like to overanalyze things for fun. It's all for shits and giggles. It's all for just talking with horror fans that love this kind of stuff and want to think about things outside and be like, you know, most people would be like, why do you even care? That's so stupid. Why even think about those things? Like, because we've watched this movie 50 times. Like, we're going to notice every single little detail. Let's point them out. Let's discuss them. Let's bring up little theories and whatnot. We don't have to take it too seriously, right? Just, it's fun. So, anyway. One thing that I really like about this movie is that it starts with the ending of 4, just like Halloween 2 did with the ending of part 1. I love that. It gets really good continuity to the series, and it just puts us right back into where we were at the end of the last one from a year ago. Like, you see that, and it leads straight in, and you just feel like you're watching one film and you're getting like an extended episode, like a TV series or something. And I've always been a big fan of that. They throw some dynamite down there instead of going down there and finding his body like any police would. But this dude's pure evil. They got to blow him up. And so he obviously gets out and he slides down the thing and he goes to this like fisherman's wharf or whatever the hell this thing is. This guy's like living in a shanty. One thing I'd like to discuss, and I think this is funny to just kind of analyze for pure fun here, is let's think about this guy taking care of Michael Myers for a year. My biggest question I have with that is, A, he didn't realize that was Michael Myers. Like, he heard the explosion. He had to have heard the explosion. And if he did, and all the sirens, and then he read in the paper or he heard in town or somebody, I mean, he's a drifter. Maybe he doesn't hear from anybody, but come on, something like this would be so big he'd have to catch wind of it in one way or another. So he would know he was harboring a fugitive that just murdered like tons and tons of people that night and 10 years previously. But anyway, so he's harboring this fugitive for absolutely no reason. He tries to kill him. He comes in, he grabs him by the throat, and he just has no strength. And it takes him a year. I don't know why my goal is just to kill him for Halloween. That's his thing, whatever. I'm not going to overanalyze that too much. We already kind of get an explanation with the Curse of Thorn. But I just want to know what it entails. Like, him taking care of Michael for a year, as I said, for no reason at all. But does Michael eat? Because we get confirmation, I suppose, that Michael eats dogs in the first movie to survive. So was this guy feeding him? And if so, then he wasn't completely comatose. And if he's eating, then he has to be pooping and peeing. Yes, I'm overanalyzing it, but who cares? Come on, let's talk about it. So for 1 year, this guy's taking care of him. So he either A, is feeding him, which means that he has to take his clothes off because Michael's wearing a mechanic's outfit. There's no pants or whatever. He has to take the whole thing off for Michael to be able to pee and poop. Or Michael isn't eating, and this guy is noticing that a man has been laying on his table in his little shanty. It's hard to ignore a man laying in the middle of the room for a year that's just been sitting there and is the most wanted man probably in the world in that moment. Well, he's dead, so he's not wanted, but he would be if he was alive. And is a total fucking psychopathic killer. This guy had to have known. And so he takes care of him, and he's not eating, or he is eating. Like, I'm so curious on what happened. And then Michael wakes up, and he's a total dick, and he kills the guy. Like, thanks for taking care of me, dumbass. And he kills him, and he goes, and then he's connected to Jamie Lloyd, which I talked about at the end of Halloween 4's discussion, how they become connected. I don't know if that was the original intention at the end of 4, but we got it here, and so we have to kind of embrace it. And the whole connection, and Jamie's in his head and can, is making movements that he is and can see through his eyes, is dumb. It is so dumb. Like, the Curse of Thorn and Man in Black and all that stuff is dumb. Okay, I'm sorry, it is. I know that they want to add things in to spice it up and to change things. It can't just be the same slasher over and over and over again. Yes, it can. But anyway, I just, it's such an unnecessary gimmick. And it really doesn't add much to the movie outside of like, look, we're trying something new. And it's like, yeah, but it's failing terribly because Michael Myers, it's not a supernatural thing. You don't need to make it this. But he does, so whatever. And anyway, so yeah, she's lost her voice. And Dr. Loomis comes in and he's just like, no, like, she'll calm down. It'll pass. And Dr. Loomis is kind of a crotchety old dick at this point. Like, they made his character way less, I don't know, rational. Like, he's just kind of obsessive at this point. Like, this has become his mission in life. Everything else is secondary to him. Everyone else is just like cannon fodder to him. He doesn't care about anyone anymore. He just wants to kill Michael. He wants to vanquish this demon. He's an exorcist at this point, and Michael is the demon that needs to be exorcised. It's his whole purpose in life. Like, when Tina brings in Max, like, he comes in, he's like, what is this? It's like, the old Dr. Loomis wouldn't give a shit about stuff like this. This is non-sequential shit. Like, this little girl is locked up, basically a prisoner. She's hated by everyone. A dog isn't allowed to, and come and see her. Come on. Like, he's just such a miserable person in this movie, and I don't like it, really, honestly. And we get to see Michael's face clear as day a few times in this movie, once in the opening and once towards the end when she makes him take off the mask. We'll get into that scene. And even though they go to the extent of making his hands completely burned, like bad, and Loomis shows his hands and they're super burned, and his face is, the wound is healed up even better this time. But yeah, like, his face, Michael Myers' face is like young, and he's got like, he doesn't even have like crow's feet. He's been like moisturizing under that mask. Maybe that mask keeps your skin like nice and silky smooth. Because, oh my God, he has no burns, no visible scars. Laurie Strode shot him through the eyes, but he has eyeballs. They gotta kind of ignore stuff like that. But he has no scars, no nothing on his face, but he has burns on his hands. We watched his face cook at the end of part fucking 2, okay? And they put him in full bandages at 4. So if you're gonna acknowledge 4 and, piggyback it with the opening here, you want to probably address some of the events that took place in that. Why is he wearing full bandages? Why has he been in a comatose state? Why is his hands burnt? Like, and his face is like pristine. I don't get that. So silly. Maybe they were worried it would look like Freddy Krueger if they did it right. Yeah. So, oh man, Rachel looks hot in this movie. She definitely is dressing. She got some more spice, some more pep in her step since surviving that night. She's like, all right, I'm gonna get myself a makeover. Tina is a character that almost everybody finds annoying. I understand why Tina is annoying to people, but she doesn't annoy me. Probably because she's hot. She's fire, man. So is Sam, her friend as well. A lot of beautiful women in this movie. The director, although kind of shitty at times, knows how to pick some pretty ladies. And I don't know why Rachel agrees. She even makes mention of this, but she agrees to leave on Halloween when Jamie would need her most. Like, of all the nights to bail from town, that's bad. Honestly, like, I think that killing Rachel in this movie was a huge mistake. They could have killed her and saved it for the end. And I'm not against, like, you know, the psycho kind of thing where you're killing like a main character 20, 30 minutes of the movie and everyone's shocked. Like, I'm not against that at all. But introducing a new character in Tina, when you already had an established and liked character that survived something so horrendous before, you could have played to that strength and really worked with her character and made the audience love her even more than they did in 4, and then had a big death. She could have sacrificed herself. Like, Tina, as a character, is a wonderful person. She goes in and she fucking takes a knife to the chest for a 9-year-old little girl who is just her friend's adopted sister. That is one hell of a friend and a great person. So her character has, you know, some serious nobility, no doubt about it. But that character arc should have been Rachel's, not Tina's. Tina didn't need to exist. And if Tina did exist, I already mentioned this in the last review, it should have been Lindsay Wallace, the original intended best friend of Rachel, her others. So I just think that that was a big missed opportunity. I think they went for the shock of like, oh my God, we killed Rachel 20, 30 minutes into the movie. But it just doesn't pack any punch because she's so disconnected from the main storyline in this movie. She just kind of goes off and does her own thing, and then they call her and she goes upstairs and then she's killed. And it's like, she didn't have any motivation. She didn't have any purpose. She was just a character they brought back. It's like the opening of Friday the 13th, you know, or part 2, you know, where we check in on Alice, right? And she gets killed in the opening just because Michael's like, or Michael, see, I'm in Halloween land right now. Jason is like tying up loose ends and getting back at the woman who killed his mother. And it's so sudden, it actually works for that one. But here, it just doesn't have that punch that I think that it should have. Killing a character like that, like a main character from your last movie, should have had more punch to it. And it just didn't work for me at all. I personally wouldn't have wanted Rachel to die at all, but if he's going to, it should have been saving her sister, not like trying to leave town and then just getting killed in her house and then no one notices because she's supposed to be out of town. Like, that's what you do with a secondary character, not a main character. And then she calls the police, and the police show up, and here's that sound effect. They're coming down the stairs, and there's this like clown music and like the whistles and oh my God, it's so dumb. Why is that in here? Later on in the movie, I'll say the other one too. Later on in the movie, near the very end, when Jamie Lloyd is going up into the attic and she runs into Max and she turns around and Max barks even though the dog's dead. They inserted a bark. To what? To make us remember it was a dog? Like, why is that bark there? Like, there's so many dumb sound effect decisions in this film. and the clown music is the worst of them. What were they thinking? I don't understand that move at all. It's supposed to add comedic relief. Like, that is the purpose of it. But this isn't the movie for that at all. Like, this is what I was talking about in my last one. Like, I love the even atmospheric tone of the fourth one. This one is like slapstick comedy at times with the stupid, goofy, freaking Goof Troop police department. And then it's like lighthearted in certain areas, and then it's like super dark, and it's all over the damn place. And I don't like it at all. Like, that's my biggest gripe with this film. Anyway, I do like when Rachel is in the house taking a shower and whatnot, that Michael is like in the house stalking her, and he's like in her closet, and he comes up behind her, and there's just that eeriness of everybody's been in their room and felt like someone was in there or someone was watching them. And this is actually what's happening to her. It's a scary thought. There's someone being in your house, like someone just standing behind you right now. It's just, yeah, it's scary. And I like how that's done. I also like how, Rachel's death comes to a head. Like when she goes in the room and she goes down, she looks at the picture frame, and then it just like hits her like a ton of bricks. Like, he's in the room with me, and she turns around and just grabs the scissors. That's a good tense scene, but it just shouldn't have happened then or, at all. Could have done that with a different person. Where am I? So Meeker really doesn't have much of a role here. They almost just brought him back to bring him back. Like, hey, look, it's Meeker from the last movie. Like, he doesn't really serve a lot of purpose in this film, which is a shame. Another missed opportunity. Another main character from the last one that they could have totally had do something in this movie, and he just doesn't. He's completely wasted. Now, it's hard to say this, like Michael and Michael, but we'll call him Mike. Mike, the car, the dude in the, is it a Camaro? I'm not a car person. He's driving around, and his girlfriend yells out, "Hey, Michael!" And he screeches to a halt. He has his engine is blaring from like flooring it, and his music is up so loud they can hear it all the way where they're standing. And he stops and he like squeals his tires, and he's like, "What? There's no way he heard her. That's not nitpicky." Anyway, you see, I do read your guys' comments, and sometimes they irk me a little bit. I'm not sitting there crying and rocking in a corner or anything, but I do read them, and I'm just kind of baffled by some things people say. I'm like, huh? Okay, I guess. All right. But anyway, so then we get the. I like how she says Mike and I like to do it in the car, but no one can touch his car because it's so pristine that the dude, spits, can't even like touch his hood. Like, but he wants to fuck in his car. I'm pretty sure that's way more dirtying, is that a word? To the car. The man in black gets out, and we immediately know that he's a bad guy because he kicks a little dog. What a son of a bitch. And that's the first sign we get of the little thorn symbol, which you also see in Michael's house drawn on the wall. The one I see the best is when at the end, when the cop's in the room trying to get Jamie down the rope ladder, and Michael breaks through the door and he shoots him, and Michael falls out of the doorway. You can see a dead on thorn symbol on the wall, which I thought was kind of cool. I mean, if you're going to do it, throw in little things like that for fans like us to spot, like, oh, it's a little hidden one. There it is. And let's see, fuck it, the Myers house, dude. I hate the Myers house in this movie. It's so bad. They couldn't have found a house that looks semi-similar. It's always annoyed me that they picked some like Victorian mansion looking house. And it's like, I get it, that looks spooky, but we all know what the Myers house looks like, and it don't look like that at all. You couldn't have found something that looks semi-similar, really? Oh, Jesus, it's so bad. And, oh man, Mike's kill, awesome. Mike's all pissed off about his car, and then he just takes this like little claw thing and he just drags it across his car, grabs him by the throat and sticks it in his face. Oh, man, that's just one guy. You're like, that's where Mike becomes like the anti-hero, which, you didn't really get that as much in the Halloween sequels as you did with like Friday the 13th sequels or Nightmare on Elm Street stuff, where they just throw in characters for you to want to hate or for you want to dislike, and you're just there to see, Freddy or Jason kill people. With the Halloween movies, they always tried to make them likable up until like Resurrection. That was when they started throwing in characters that were like, they're purely to die. Like, you're like, please, please, please kill this fucking person. We didn't really get that a ton in these movies, which I'm actually just kind of realizing. So that's kind of cool they stuck to that. But Mike is that first character of the 4 Myers movies where I'm like, please kill him, please. And when he does, I'm excited. Now, so Mike goes and he grabs Michael grabs Mike's car, takes off in it. Somehow Michael knows how to drive stick shift now. Maybe someone around here gave him lessons. Someone said my Loomis accent, frickin' Devon Graham. Hey, isn't that Devon Graham? Said my Loomis impression sucked. And it was like frickin' Kelly Meeker's sex scene. Think you're so clever. Now I'm just talking to my subscribers' comments. That's all I'm gonna do here. I'm just gonna talk about every comment I got. But I thought that one was pretty good. The impression was, no, it wasn't very good. I know. Okay, come on, let me have it. But yeah, where the hell am I? Yeah, so Mike driving around with this car and he throws on the mask, which is kind of a little bit of a, like, we could say that's not really a character moment that Michael would have, but he threw on the sheet to trick, Linda in part 1. So he has no reason to do that in part 1. None at all. And then he just goes over and he kills her. He strangles her with the telephone wire, and that's that. Same thing kind of happens here, where he takes it, he puts on the new mask, he goes and he picks up Tina. She kisses him, and his look in his face, that scene's actually pretty creepy. And she's like, all right, this is kind of creeping me out. It's like, I understand why. It looks so scary. His eyes are so hate-filled in that moment. There's such scary eyes behind that mask. But he drives off and he takes her, and she's like, oh, stop here. I want a big cookie woman. Oh, God, the telepathic thing is so dumb. But anyway, so they're driving and she sees it. I want to get cigarettes. And Michael stops the car. Why? I have no idea. I guess Tina is that annoying. Maybe she doesn't annoy me, but she annoyed Michael even so much that he stopped the car, backed up, and let her out. And then he goes and he reaches down to pick up his Myers mask to throw it on and then kill her. I'm expecting, why else would he change into the mask? Because I was thinking, like, maybe she'll take him to Jamie, like that's his intention with this, but then she goes in to get cigarettes and he puts on the mask anyways to kill her. For what reason? Like, why didn't he just kill her? Why didn't he just go to her house and kill her? He knows where she lives. Like, how does he know her address? Doesn't matter, but he does, and he goes and he picks her up. Why didn't he just kill her right there in the car? Why even bother with any of that? It just doesn't make any sense. But as I said, he does it in part 1, and it doesn't really make any sense. Why would he hide from Linda who he is? He could have just came in the room and killed her, and that wouldn't have done anything differently. So Michael's just a conundrum. And the fact that the cops buy into what Loomis is saying, I do like that moment. Is the only moment I like with the dumb cops is when, they're trying to argue with Loomis a little bit, like, arrest her for what? And he's like, follow her. And then Loomis goes, into his little, if that girl dies tonight. And the guys are like, all right, dog, all right, anything for you. Just please don't go into one of your speeches. I actually thought that was pretty funny because it's just, they were so tired of hearing it. They were just like, give him whatever he wants. He won't shut up. And so, but the fact that Meeker was around, but he never really got to see Michael doing anything. Like, I'm sure in Meeker's mind, he was like, he just killed a bunch of people and you're over exaggerating the story. But he did fire a ton of shots into the guy. And he was still standing. So I'm sure he thought he was at least a tough son of a bitch. But if he really was back from the grave after getting shot that many times, I'm guessing Meeker could be convinced that this is ridiculously, that Michael's ridiculously, not ridiculously. I think I'm just throwing that word in for no reason. That he's supernatural of some sort. So, but I just feel like the whole police force and everything, being in on this and being like, all right, Doc, like, we'll get on the radios with you, and Jamie will have a little vision, and then we'll go running off to this place. Like, it's far-fetched, but who cares? It is what it is. And yeah, I mean, Jamie gets her voice back. That's supposed to be a big moment. It's fine, but it's just like, Tina, and then it just, her voice is back. I don't know, her voice not being there, I don't know, does it do anything for it? I mean, is that supposed to be like she lost her voice like Michael did? Like, she's unable to talk like Michael? Does Michael have no ability to talk? I'm guessing, I don't know. I don't know what that means. He's grunting in the movie sometimes, so he does have the ability to. He just doesn't, so she can't, because she wakes up screaming and she can't scream, so she can't make any noise at all. But then later it kind of comes back a little bit, like she's talking, you can hear her saying little bits of words, and then at the end she then gets her voice back. So I don't know, is that supposed to be like once she took on the boogeyman's curse that she lost her voice like him, and then she was strong enough to overcome what he couldn't? Is that what they're suggesting? I mean, that's kind of what I'm taking for it. Tina being all crazy about Mike. I mean, girls are into some stupid guys, but God, you're just like, wake up. And I love how the cops are sitting in front of a party where clearly like a ton of underage people are drinking. They do say they're terrible cops, and I agree. And then and then Spitz and Tina and Sam get this brilliant idea to run out in front of the cops with a Michael Myers mask on and hold a butcher's knife or kitchen knife up right in front of the cops as they draw their weapons, and they're still joking around in this moment. These are some dumb ass kids just trying to get killed. We get more freaking teased boobies in this movie with not only Rachel, but Sam as well. What in the hell, man? Freaking Halloween is just, they're not good for boobage for sure. Maybe that just like lessens the quality of the movies or something, even though they're like sticking freaking like cloths into people's faces and whatnot, because quality, yeah, real stupid. And where are we? Yeah, the fact that he has the exact mask that he's wearing in the movie, same thing that happened in the last year, because in the last year they have the same mask that Michael's wearing in part 4. They have that Spitz has the same mask that Michael now has in part 5. So they're like keeping up to date with what Michael is wearing. And oh my God, poor Sam. I mean, she ends up dying so like really quick, so this wouldn't have affected her, but she is having sex for the very first time, and the guy who's on top of her gets murdered in front of her. Wow, her sex life would be over. She would never have sex again. And I like Sam, man. She goes and she grabs the freaking, pitchfork out of her boyfriend and is just like grabs it and is like, all right, and like goes and runs at Michael. Badass chick, man. Badass chick. That was cool. I was like, all right, Sam, get it. The chase through the woods is freaking tense, man. When he's driving through the woods in the car and Jamie is running and then gets out and crashes, and the horn. I like the horn thing. That was clever. When the horn is just blaring and they know that Michael's head's like resting on it and they think he's dead, and it's blaring for a while, and then it just stops abruptly and Michael gets out of the car. That was great. That was a very smart way of like showing the audience or like conveying to the characters and to the audience that Michael was still alive. I really liked that, the way that that played out. And then, as I said, Tina takes a knife for her. We never get 100% confirmation that Tina's dead. She looks pretty damn dead on that stretcher. They usually cover them up, so that's the only reason I overthought, like, is she have any kind of pull? I'm guessing she's dead. But the fact that they didn't cover her up at all made me wonder a little bit. And let's see here. So I have to wonder, once they go back to the Myers house and Loomis basically is making Jamie bait, does Loomis care if Jamie dies at this point? Like, cause he like holds her out in front of him, and like the cop tries to take her out of there and get her to safety, and Loomis pulls a gun on him like he does in the with the Marshal in Part 2. Loomis likes to pull guns on cops and gets away with it. But yeah, like, do you feel like he cares about Jamie at this point? Like, as I said, is he just an obsessed lunatic at this point? He doesn't care who gets hurt? Because he didn't seem to worry about Jamie's freaking life at all in this film. And I was just like, wow, Loomis, like, come on, man, this is a 9-year-old little kid. She has had one shitty ass life. Laurie should not have had a kid. And I like how this part's so silly to me. So they're listening to the guy on the radio, and Michael's driving up behind the cop, and Loomis and the cop that's upstairs with Jamie they're sitting there and they're talking to the guy. And he's like, I see somebody. And then they hear like, ugh, and he's like yelling, and they're like, what's going on? What's going on? He's right out front. He's right out front. Look through the fucking window. That's 5 feet to your left. Like, why aren't you going over there to help the guy? Look out the window. Point your gun at whoever's doing it. Like, what the hell? That scene is so dumb. They just decide like, all right, well, I guess that guy's dead, so we'll try to get out of this house. Like, they don't try to go downstairs. It's so stupid. That part's so dumb. Anyway. Meeker has like 100 freaking dudes there. He has like a SWAT team. He has all these officers, everything. And when they get the call, they know Myers is coming after Jamie Lloyd. They're like convinced of that. Why didn't he take 50 of the 100 with him and leave 50 at the house? Like, I don't understand that move at all. Take the SWAT team with you and leave everyone else. Like, you don't need the entirety of this police force and the SWAT team and everything. You could split them up. It's not impossible. He leaves 2 cops behind. 2 of the 100 he has. He seriously has like 100. No shit. And he leaves 2 behind with the target. Wow. That is pretty silly. And then the cop is fighting Michael Myers, and there's a shotgun sitting right next to him, and he decides to take his sidearm and fire into Michael a couple of times. And instead of checking if he's dead or hurt or anything, he then just tries to go out the window instead of grabbing his shotgun and going and checking. And God, this guy is so dumb. Sounds like I'm cutting down a lot of people here, but there's some dumb-ass scenes. Now let's talk about an awesome scene. The laundry chute scene. Awesome. Best scene in this movie. Best scene in this movie out, just hands down. That is such a scary, well-done scene. Oh my God, is that scene tense as shit. And they cut out of like a little bit of gore here. Jamie was supposed to get stabbed through the leg. They did have that scene, but they had to take it out. When he first stabs through, you see him pull back and he has blood on it, and she screams out. She gets stabbed in the leg in that scene, which I wish they would have kept in, but we know what happened. So when she gets out, she's like bleeding from the leg. That's why. But just like the way it's done, he's jiggling on the handle and she's trying to climb up, and he's like got his hand up there and he's just waving it frantically just at the bottom of her feet, and this 9-year-old little girl screaming her head off. and then he starts stabbing the thing. He stabs through her leg, and then he stabs through it, and she uses like her foot on the knife as a step and pushes herself up and grabs it, and she's like falling. And then Michael puts his head up in and looks up at her as she's climbing through. That scene is fucking awesome. Absolutely. Oh my God. And then she goes upstairs and she finds the coffin, which I thought the coffin was actually a pretty cool touch because he digs up his sister's headstone and he puts it above Annie's head in the first one. So it's, you know, not far-fetched to believe that he would go and dig up a casket to put Jamie in of the same size, like a 9-year-old girl, and bring it upstairs. And I liked that. I thought that was cool. I did. And also, Jamie had to find out that Rachel, like the one person she had left, was dead right there in that moment. When she's in the middle of it all, the one person who she loves, she sees dead. That's how she found out she was dead, and she had to see her dead body right there. Jamie Lloyd's life sucks so hard. So fucking hard. And it's not gonna get any damn better for her. Then she crawls in the casket and she's like, Uncle. And we have that like Friday the 13th part 2 moment where she tricks him with the sweater. Take off your mask. Let me see. This is not Daniel Harris's fault at all. And he takes off his mask. You're just like me. And he fucking is crying down his perfectly smooth face. And we see his face completely dead on. And it is like a younger looking man. I guess he'd only be, what, 31, 32 in this? 32, so he'd be pretty young. I mean, he's younger than I am, so I guess that makes sense, but his face should be burnt. Doesn't matter, but the fact that Michael's crying, but she's able to reach him. Let's just break this down without how silly I feel it is. Let's think about it here, and let's break the scene down a little bit. So, they are suggesting, because Loomis talks to him earlier in the movie, about 5 minutes before this or so, and he's able to catch Michael pretty much almost off guard and almost is able to take the knife from him because he's like, you want to stop that rage and whatever, and he's almost able to talk Michael down. And then Michael comes back and he's like in full rage mode again, but he does get through to him, so that does suggest to us that Michael is in there somewhere. That there is some bit of Michael that is retained in his head. Because in the first 2 movies, the only time we get that at all is when his name is said and he stops and he cocks his head and then he keeps coming at Laurie Strode. But outside of that, we get no real mention. This movie is then pushing that Michael is in there. We do get some bit of Michael, and when he takes off the mask, like this is the broken man inside that, I don't know, doesn't want to be doing this or whatever, and the curse is taking him over. I don't know, but he is in there, and she's able to talk to Michael for a second, and then of course he comes out of it and he goes right back into murderous rage mode. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the scene at all, for sure. But breaking it down, it's an interesting thought. If you're going to go with this whole Curse of Thorn thing. And then Loomis grabs her, takes her downstairs, uses her bait. This is the scene where I'm like, does he care if she dies? Like, would he, if given the chance, would he sacrifice Jamie Lloyd's life so that Michael would die? I think he would. I definitely think he would. And I don't think he's dumb for that. I mean, it would save many other people's lives because this guy doesn't seem to want to die. But he just doesn't seem to care about her at all. And then Michael gets trapped by the thing. They shoot him with a bunch of tranquilizers. No one's thought of that before, I guess. And they put him in jail. And even though he was out cold and they handcuffed him and everything, they couldn't take his mask off. You don't go to jail in a mask. Doesn't matter, it's silly, but I was just like, really? You would not go into jail there. And then the man in black comes in and shoots everyone up. Does like some kind of like gangster moment where he's like firing a Tommy gun. It reminded me of like freaking Angels with Filthy Souls or whatever from Home Alone. It's like freaking cackling man with the Tommy gun. He's just firing randomly, and then everyone in the police station is dead. One dude, this freaking Rambo, is part of the little cult that they have going on here. Poor Jamie, man. At the end of this movie, she's just crying, and it's so sad. She's like, no, no. And then I have to wonder if right then and there, and I think they do say this in part 6, that neither one of them were seen again. So Jamie gets kidnapped right there and then, which kind of makes sense that they would grab her right there if there is some guy following Michael around and helping him out. This is who he's trying to kill. She's all vulnerable and alone. Why wouldn't they grab her? So from this moment, basically from the opening of part 8, or actually I should say from 11 months before part 4, Jamie Lloyd's life sucks till her death at like 15 or 16 years old. I think they say she's like 15 in the 6th one, something like that. But this girl's life, just like half of her life, and she's only like 15 when she dies, is awful. Poor Jamie Lloyd. That sucks that we create characters to give them such awful lives. I don't know what we're doing to her for the next 6 years. I guess Michael was getting busy with her, trying to get her pregnant. But anyways, so that's it for 5. I have already reviewed 6, both cuts, 7 and 8. So the next ones up will be the Rob Zombie movies. So I will get to those as soon as I can. I'm going to Solo's premiere tomorrow night, so I doubt I will be getting to that tomorrow. Friday, we'll see. All right, guys.